we're going to show our simple ceviche recipe. For this one, we're going to use some sole and red snapper. It says red snapper rock cod, so maybe there's a identity crisis with this fish, but at any rate, you can use anything like that. Orange Roughy makes really good ceviche. You can use scallops, make sure they're fresh. You can also use shrimp. We like any of these kind of fish will work just fine for this. You're going to need, I don't know, a pound of that, and a dozen limes that are nice and fresh, and a nice big bowl to put them in. We're going to start out by rinsing this fish off. You don't know what kind of table it was cut on, but be advised if your water, your tap water has a lot of chlorine in it to clean it up. It will start breaking the fish down. So if you do wash meat or fish off with your tap water, always cook with it immediately or put it in your dish, because if you wash it and then put it back in the fridge, it will actually start breaking down the fish. You may want to make sure that there's no bones in the fish. The sole doesn't have any, but this red snapper rock cod, you may have some right along the spine there, so make sure you check for that. On the limes, you probably want to have a little squeezer thing or one of those fancy electric ones. This works fine. Once you rinse the limes off, make sure you roll them really good. And you want to roll them hard enough to get some of the oil on the lime out. If they get over it shiny, and your hand will smell really good like a fresh lime. So I always roll all the limes really well. And this obviously can take a little while. This is probably the most annoying part of making ceviche, is slicing and juicing 900 fresh limes. Well, 12, so 24 pieces. So we have the bones out of the fish. I'm going to cut it up now. Remember that, well, in our case, we like to use chips to scoop up the ceviche. You're supposed to put it traditionally on a tostada, but anyone who's eaten a tostada knows they're kind of tricky. If you take a bite out of it and the thing shatters, you're going to end up with food everywhere. So we like chips. So that being the case, the fish should be a size that you can scoop up on a chip and not have it hanging over. So I'm going to start by just going right down the middle of each of these pieces of fish. I don't like to repeat myself, so I'm going to cut these in half, and then I'm going to stack the whole thing up on top of each other and cut them all at once. Now I'll just take my stack, and I'm going to go about 1/2 of an inch wide. If your fish is partially frozen, it can be easier to cut. I don't mind. This is all going to get chewed up and go in my stomach, so I'm not worried about it. As long as you're nice and sharp, this works just fine. While we're looking at it, this fish is all kind of partially see-through or translucent right now. You'll know that the acid of the lime juice has properly cooked the fish when it turns kind of white. Now none of these should be too big. That's a little big, so you can just kind of look through them, and so you've got a couple of big pieces. You can get through them, but most of the pieces are really a good size. I'll just put them in the lime juice. Yeah, these look good. Just kind of feeling one more time for bones, in case we missed one. Nothing like ramming a fish bone into your gums when you're having a nice time with a little ceviche and beer. Okay, looks good. So now we'll put this in the refrigerator for a while. And they say 8 hours in the fridge. You really don't need that much. I think that after about 4, you should see the fish all turn white. So while this is in the refrigerator, we'll cut all the rest of the ingredients up, and then we'll dump them in. We've got a couple of green bell peppers, some cucumber. We're using a lemon cucumber, it's what we have. Some onions. We're using Torpedo onions, but yellow and white are both fine. Usually a couple jalapenos or serranos. You have to decide how spicy you want it. We'll probably chop them all and then kind of add it to taste. Some celery, avocados, some tomatoes. We have enough lime already with the fish, but we'll probably slice these for garnish is what they have you do. We'll wait to use the salt till the end to make sure we don't over salt it. We'll use some lemon pepper. We have chopped Manzanillo olives. I like the ones with the pimentos for color and a little extra flavor. And of course a good amount of cilantro, usually 1 bunch from the store. And a splash of Clamato Picante juice is nice to put in there as well. Okay, we've chopped everything up and we're ready to mix it in. We have here our fish that we put in the lime juice a few hours ago, and you can see that it's all pure white now. It's no longer, you know, see-through or translucent like raw fish. So it's literally been cooked by the citric acid of the limes. So we'll go ahead and put all these vegetables that we mixed together in. It's a lot of good stuff. And we have our cilantro and our fresh avocado. And I guess I'm going to need something for that. We're going to put a splash of this Clamato Picante in there. I didn't measure that. I just put a splash in. So once you stir it, if it's a little bit dry or needs a little bit more liquid, you can add some more. Okay, we're pretty well mixed in here. It's good to taste it before you start throwing salt and stuff in it. I know that I need just a little bit of salt, so this is about a teaspoon of coarse sea salt, and I like about a teaspoon of lemon pepper, just as a baseline. You can always add more, but of course if you put in too much, you'll have to add some more vegetables to knock it back down. This looks really good. All right, we better do a test. These are our chips that we make. We have a video on chips and salsa. If you want to learn to make these, they're really good. Okay, so now I'm just kind of using the back of the spoon to layer it down. I want to see how much juice we have. And if you see, if I depress the spoon in the middle, you can see some liquid there. So this is about the right amount. You don't want a big pool of juice on the top. If you've got a really limey taste, that's what we kind of prefer. If you don't want such a strong lime taste, after the fish and lime juice have been in the refrigerator for a little bit, you can pour off some of the lime juice so that the fish doesn't stay in it, so it doesn't take on as much of a limey flavor. That's kind of a personal preference thing. But this is pretty easy to do, so you can experiment with it. We're going to put this in the refrigerator now for about an hour, just to sort of let the onions and the cilantro and everything kind of mix together. We ended up probably using about half a cup of Clamato total, and we still just had the original dozen limes in here. So this is really good. All the stuff on here is the right size, I would say. If you scoop this up with a chip, you're going to get a nice fish and vegetables on the chip, that's like perfect. Oh, is that still on? Oh. Okay, so now for our ceviche.
I can't see the food.
Okay, then film down lower.
No, I can't see you.
Oh, heck. You can see it's totally like opaque now. Or translucent rather, or not translucent.
All right.
Lemon pepper and you can add a pinch of salt. That's really good.